Part 1. The Seductive Character. There are 9 seducer types in the world. Each type has a particular character trait that comes from deep within and creates a seductive pull. Sirens have an abundance of sexual energy and know how to use it. Rakes insatiably adore the opposite sex, and their desire is infectious. Ideal lovers have an aesthetic sensibility that they apply to romance. Dandies like to play with their image, creating a striking and androgynous allure. Naturals are spontaneous and open. Coquettes are self-sufficient with a fascinating cool at their core. Charmers want and know how to please. They are social creatures. Charismatics have an unusual confidence in themselves. Stars are ethereal and envelop themselves in mystery. The Siren. A man is often secretly oppressed by the role he has to play, by always having to be responsible, in control, and rational. The Siren is the ultimate male fantasy figure because she offers a total release from the limitations of his life. In her presence, which is always heightened and sexually charged, the male feels transported to a world of pure pleasure. She is dangerous, and in pursuing her energetically, the man can lose control over himself, something he yearns to do. The Siren is a mirage. She lures men by cultivating a particular appearance and manner. In a world where women are often too timid to project such an image, learn to take control of the male libido by embodying his fantasy. The Rake. A woman never quite feels desired and appreciated enough. She wants attention, but a man is too often distracted and unresponsive. The Rake is a great female fantasy figure. When he desires a woman, brief though that moment may be, he will go to the ends of the earth for her. He may be disloyal, dishonest, and amoral, but that only adds to his appeal. Unlike the normal, cautious male, the Rake is delightfully unrestrained, a slave to his love of women. There is the added lure of his reputation. So many women have succumbed to him, there has to be a reason. Words are a woman's weakness, and the Rake is a master of seductive language. Stir a woman's repressed longings by adapting the Rake's mix of danger and pleasure. The Ideal Lover. Most people have dreams in their youth that get shattered or worn down with age. They find themselves disappointed by people, events, reality, which cannot match their youthful ideals. Ideal lovers thrive on people's broken dreams, which become lifelong fantasies. You long for romance, adventure, lofty spiritual communion. The ideal lover reflects your fantasy. He or she is an artist in creating the illusion you require, idealizing your portrait. In a world of disenchantment and baseness, there is limitless seductive power in following the path of the ideal lover. The Dandy. Most of us feel trapped within the limited roles that the world expects us to play. We are instantly attracted to those who are more fluid, more ambiguous than we are, those who create their own persona. Dandies excite us because they cannot be categorized and hint at a freedom we want for ourselves. They play with masculinity and femininity. They fashion their own physical image, which is always startling. They are mysterious and elusive. They also appeal to the narcissism of each sex. To a woman, they are psychologically female. To a man, they are male. Dandies fascinate and seduce in large numbers. Use the power of the dandy to create an ambiguous, alluring presence that stirs repressed desires. The Natural. Childhood is the golden paradise we are always consciously or unconsciously trying to recreate. The natural embodies the longed-for qualities of childhood: spontaneity, sincerity, unpretentiousness. In the presence of naturals, we feel at ease, caught up in their playful spirit, transported back to that golden age. Naturals also make a virtue out of weakness, eliciting our sympathy for their trials, making us want to protect them and help them. As with a child, much of this is natural, but some of it is exaggerated, a conscious, seductive maneuver. Adopt the pose of the natural to neutralize people's natural defensiveness and infect them with helpless delight. The coquette. The ability to delay satisfaction is the ultimate art of seduction. While waiting, the victim is held in thrall. Coquettes are the grand masters of this game, orchestrating a back-and-forth movement between hope and frustration. They bait with the promise of reward, the hope of physical pleasure, happiness, fame by association, power, all of which, however, proves elusive. Yet this only makes their targets pursue them more. Coquettes seem totally self-sufficient. They don't need you, they seem to say, and their narcissism proves devilishly attractive. You want to conquer them, but they hold the cards. The strategy of the coquette is never to offer total satisfaction. Initiate the alternating heat and coolness of the coquette, and you will keep the seduced at your heels. The charmer. Charm is seduction without sex. Charmers are consummate manipulators, masking their cleverness by creating a mood of pleasure and comfort. Their method is simple. They deflect attention from themselves and focus it on their target. They understand your spirit, feel your pain, adapt to your moods. In the presence of a charmer, you feel better about yourself. Charmers don't argue or fight, complain or pester. What could be more seductive? By drawing you in with their indulgence, they make you dependent on them, and their power grows. Learn to cast the charmer's spell by aiming at people's primary weaknesses: vanity and self-esteem. The charismatic. Charisma is a presence that excites us. It comes from an inner quality, self-confidence, sexual energy, sense of purpose, contentment, that most people lack and want. This quality radiates outward, permeating the gestures of charismatics, making them seem extraordinary and superior, and making us imagine there is more to them than meets the eye. They are gods, saints, stars. Charismatics can learn to heighten their charisma with a piercing gaze, fiery oratory, an air of mystery. They can seduce on a grand scale. Learn to create the charismatic illusion by radiating intensity while remaining detached. The star. Daily life is harsh, and most of us constantly seek escape from it in fantasies and dreams. Stars feed on this weakness. Standing out from others through a distinctive and appealing style, they make us want to watch them. At the same time, they are vague and ethereal, keeping their distance and letting us imagine more than is there. Their dreamlike quality works on our unconscious. We are not even aware how much we imitate them. Learn to become an object of fascination by projecting the glittering but elusive presence of the star. Part 2. The seductive process. Phase 1. Separation. Stirring interest and desire. Your victims live in their own worlds, their minds occupied with anxieties and daily concerns. Your goal in this initial phase is to slowly separate them from that closed world and fill their minds with thoughts of you. Once you have decided whom to seduce, Chapter 1, Choose the Right Victim, your first task is to get your victim's attention, to stir interest in you. For those who might be more resistant or difficult, you should try a slower and more insidious approach. First, winning their friendship. Chapter 2, Create a false sense of security. Approach indirectly. For those who are bored and less difficult to reach, a more dramatic approach will work, either fascinating them with a mysterious presence, Chapter 3, Send Mixed Signals, or seeming to be someone who is coveted and fought over by others, Chapter 4, Appear to be an object of desire. Once the victim is properly intrigued, you need to transform their interest into something stronger, desire. Desire is generally preceded by feelings of emptiness, of something missing inside that needs fulfillment. You must deliberately instill such feelings. Make your victims aware of the adventure and romance that are lacking in their lives. Chapter 5. Create a need. Stir anxiety and discontent. If they see you as the one to fill their emptiness, interest will blossom into desire. The desire should be stoked by subtly planting ideas in their minds, hints of the seductive pleasures that await them. Chapter 6. Master the art of insinuation. Mirroring your victims' values, indulging them in their wants and moods will charm and delight them. Chapter 7. Enter their spirit. Without realizing how it has happened, more and more of their thoughts now revolve around you. The time has come for something stronger. Lure them with an irresistible pleasure or adventure. Chapter 8. Create temptation. And they will follow your lead. Phase 2. Lead astray, creating pleasure and confusion. Your victims are sufficiently intrigued, and their desire for you is growing, but their attachment is weak, and at any moment they could decide to turn back. The goal in this phase is to lead your victims so far astray, keeping them emotional and confused, giving them pleasure but making them want more, that retreat is no longer possible. Springing on them a pleasant surprise will make them see you as delightfully unpredictable, but will also keep them off balance. Chapter 9. Keep them in suspense. What comes next? The artful use of soft and pleasant words will intoxicate them and stimulate fantasies. Chapter 10. Use the demonic power of words to sow confusion. Aesthetic touches and pleasant little rituals will titillate their senses, distract their minds. Chapter 11. Pay attention to detail. Your greatest danger in this phase is the mere hint of routine or familiarity. You need to maintain some mystery, to keep a little distance, so that in your absence your victims become obsessed with you. Chapter 12. Poeticize your presence. They may realize they're falling for you, but they must never suspect how much of this has come from your manipulations. A well-timed display of your weakness, of how emotional you have become under their influence, will help cover your tracks. Chapter 13. Disarm through strategic weakness and vulnerability. To excite your victims and make them highly emotional, you must give them the feeling that they're actually living some of the fantasies you have stirred in their imagination. Chapter 14. Confuse desire and reality. By giving them only a part of the fantasy, you will keep them coming back for more. Focusing your attention on them so that the rest of the world fades away, even taking them on a trip, will lead them far astray. Chapter 15. Isolate your victim. There is no turning back. Phase 3. The precipice. Deepening the effect through extreme measures. The goal in this phase is to make everything deeper. The effect you have on their mind, feelings of love and attachment, tension within your victims. With your hooks deep into them, you can push them back and forth between hope and despair until they weaken and snap. Showing how far you are willing to go for your victims, doing some noble or chivalrous deed, chapter 16, Prove Yourself, will create a powerful jolt, spark an intensely positive reaction. Everyone has scars, repressed desires, and unfinished business from childhood. Bring these desires and wounds to the surface, make your victims feel they're getting what they never got as a child, and you will penetrate deep into their psyche, stir uncontrollable emotions. Chapter 17, Effect a regression. Now, you can take your victims past their limits, getting them to act out their dark sides, adding a sense of danger to your seduction. Chapter 18, Stir up the transgressive and taboo. You need to deepen the spell. And nothing will more confuse and enchant your victims than giving your seduction a spiritual veneer. It's not lust that motivates you, but destiny, divine thoughts, and everything elevated. Chapter 19, Use spiritual lures. The erotic lurks beneath the spiritual. Now, your victims have been properly set up. By deliberately hurting them, instilling fears and anxieties, you will lead them to the edge of the precipice from which it will be easy to push and make them fall. Chapter 20, Mix pleasure with pain. They feel great tension and are yearning for relief. Phase 4. Moving in for the kill. First, you worked on their mind, the mental seduction. Then you confused and stirred them up, the emotional seduction. Now the time has come for hand-to-hand combat, the physical seduction. At this point, your victims are weak and ripe with desire. By showing a little coldness or uninterest, you will spark panic. They will come after you with impatience and erotic energy. Chapter 21. Give them space to fall. The pursuer is pursued. To bring them to a boil, you need to put their minds to sleep and heat up their senses. It's best to lure them into lust by sending certain loaded signals that will get under their skin and spread sexual desire like a poison. Chapter 22. Use physical lures. The moment to strike and move in for the kill is when your victim is brimming with desire, but not consciously expecting the climax to come. Chapter 23. Master the art of the bold move. Once the seduction is over, there is the danger that disenchantment will set in and ruin all your hard work. Chapter 24. Beware the after effects. If you are after a relationship, then you must constantly re-seduce the victim, creating tension and releasing it. If your victim is to be sacrificed, then it must be done swiftly and cleanly, leaving you free, physically and psychologically, to move on to the next victim. Then, the game begins all over.